It has probably happened to you that your best friend asks you if you like their new haircut. You don't really like it, but you smile and say, "Yeah, it looks great." We all do it, right? But here's the big question. Why do humans lie, even about the smallest things? In this videocast, we're going to dive into the surprising psychology behind dishonesty. And you'll see that lying isn't always about being bad. Sometimes it's about survival, connection, or even protecting ourselves.
We take complex topics, break them down, and give you the core insights you need. Today, we're tackling something really fundamental to how we interact: lying.
It's definitely a charged topic. But our aim today isn't really about judging. We want to dig into the why and the how based on your sources. What makes us lie? Is it nature, nurture, circumstance, or maybe just a very busy brain?
Okay, let's get specific first. Because lying can mean different things. We're not talking about simply being wrong about something, are we?
No, absolutely not. The crucial factor here is intent. A lie, by definition, is when someone intentionally says something they know isn't true, specifically to mislead someone else.
Right, so if I genuinely think Paris is the capital of Spain and tell you that, I'm mistaken, not lying.
Exactly. The purpose has to be deception. Mistake versus intent. That's the bright line.
And that intentionality opens up a whole spectrum. Your sources outline 5 common types, which really helps frame the different motivations.
It does. We can start with the one we probably all use sometimes. The white lie.
Uh-huh, the small ones.
Yeah, generally harmless, told to avoid hurting feelings. You know, that haircut looks great. When maybe it doesn't. Social grease, essentially.
Okay, but then the stakes get higher with the next type. The self-protective lie.
Right. This is pure defense mechanism territory, lying to avoid getting blamed, punished, or judged negatively.
Like blaming the traffic when you overslept.
Precisely. Or the kid saying, "I didn't break it." It's about dodging negative consequences aimed at you.
Then we get into more, let's say, strategic lies. There's protecting others and then lying purely for personal gain. How do those differ?
Well, the protective lie for others is interesting. You're still hiding the truth, but the motive is often framed as empathy, trying to shield someone else from pain or distress.
Like not telling a relative about bad news right away.
Could be, though whether it's truly helpful is another question. But then you have the lie for gain. That one's unambiguous.
Yeah, that sounds like using deception to get ahead.
Exactly. Padding your resume, taking credit for work you didn't do, maybe even outright fraud. It's about securing an advantage for yourself.
And the last category sounds darker. Habitual or pathological lying.
Yes, this is where it moves beyond a specific situation or goal. It becomes a pattern, a deeply ingrained reflex. Sometimes the lie doesn't even seem to offer a clear benefit. It's just the default mode of communication, often very destructive.
Understanding that range really makes you wonder, why is deception so common? What are the core psychological roots?
Well, researchers consistently find a few key drivers, and honestly, a lot of it boils down to protection in some form.
Protection. Like what?
The biggest one is probably fear of consequences. Pure and simple. We lie to avoid punishment, shame, embarrassment, judgment. The bigger the potential fallout, the stronger the temptation to lie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And related to that, I suppose, is protecting self-image, wanting to look good, or at least not look bad.
Absolutely. We curate our image, exaggerating successes, downplaying failures. It's about managing perception. If looking competent is important for your job, you might lie to maintain that facade.
Then there's the social angle, avoiding conflict and hurt feelings.
Yeah.
Basically, lying to keep the peace.
Right. Sometimes telling a small lie feels easier than having a difficult conversation or potentially upsetting someone. The path of least resistance, you could say.
Okay, those seem like immediate situational triggers. But what about lying becoming easier over time? You mentioned habit. Is that just psychological, or does something change in the brain?
It seems to be both. Psychologically, the more you practice anything, including deception, the more automatic it becomes. The power of practice is real. Your brain gets more efficient at it.
So the neural pathways get smoother.
Kind of, yes. And also, the fear or guilt might lessen with repetition, especially if you get away with it. It lowers the threshold for doing it again.
And we can't forget the environment, right? Situational pressures,
Yeah.
like high-stress jobs or cutthroat competition.
Definitely. If you're in a place where honesty is punished or where winning at all costs is rewarded, that environment actively encourages deception. Stress, time pressure, fear, they can all push people towards lying as a coping mechanism almost.
It's fascinating how these external factors interact with our internal processes.
And speaking of internal development, there's a really key point about childhood. We actually learn to lie, don't we? It's tied to developing theory of mind.
Ah, yes. This is a crucial developmental milestone. It's quite profound, actually. To lie effectively, a child needs to understand something quite sophisticated,
Which is?
that other people have their own minds, that what, think or want isn't necessarily what they know, think, or want. Your mental state is separate from theirs.
So a really young child, maybe 2 years old, might hide after doing something wrong, but they don't quite get that mom or dad doesn't automatically know what happened just because they weren't there.
Pretty much. They lack that full grasp of separate perspectives. But typically between ages 3 and 5, theory of mind clicks into place. The child realizes, aha, mom doesn't know I ate the cookie unless I tell her, or she sees the crumbs.
And that's when they can try to implant a false belief. No, I didn't eat it. Exactly. They understand they can manage the information in someone else's head. It's a massive cognitive leap necessary for complex social interaction. And yes, for deliberate deception.
A bit of a dark milestone, perhaps, but essential for understanding social dynamics. Okay, so that's why the psychology of development. Now, what about the how? You mentioned the brain works hard when we lie. It's not easy.
Not at all. It might feel quick sometimes, but neurologically, lying is incredibly demanding. It's like juggling multiple complex tasks at once. Telling the truth is usually much more straightforward for the brain.
So what's going on up there? What are these demanding tasks?
Researchers typically identify 4 main cognitive jobs running simultaneously. First, there's a heavy load on working memory.
Working memory, like holding information in your head.
Precisely. You have to hold the truth in mind, actively suppress it, and construct and maintain the lie. You're constantly managing these 2 conflicting pieces of information and making sure they don't get mixed up.
That sounds mentally taxing already.
Yeah.
What's second?
Intense inhibition. Your brain has a natural, almost automatic tendency to state what it knows to be true. Lying requires actively slamming the brakes on that impulse.
So you have to stop the truth from slipping out.
Yes, and that requires significant control, mainly from the prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive control center. It has to override the default truthful response.
Wow. Okay, so the prefrontal cortex is busy building the lie and suppressing the truth.
It's working double duty. Third, you're engaged in constant, rapid decision-making.
How so?
You're reading the other person's reaction, gauging if they believe you, maybe adjusting the lie on the fly, calculating the risk versus reward. Is this working? Is it worth the stress?
And the fourth task must be dealing with that stress itself, right? The emotions.
Absolutely. Fear of getting caught, guilt, anxiety. These emotions are swirling, adding to the cognitive load. Brain imaging often shows the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC, firing up during deception.
What does the ACC do?
It's heavily involved in detecting conflict, errors, and managing emotional distress. It's like the brain's internal alarm bell saying, something's not right here. There's a mismatch.
So prefrontal cortex builds the lie and blocks the truth. ACC sounds the stress alarm. Any other key areas involved?
Yes, parietal regions, like the inferior parietal lobule, also play a role. These areas help with attention and, crucially, with understanding the other person's perspective.
Ah, linking back to theory of mind.
Exactly. To lie effectively, you need to model what the other person might be thinking or know, and tailor your lie to fit their presumed mental state. It's complex perspective taking.
It really paints a picture of the brain working incredibly hard. Which leads to the obvious question. If it's so costly, why do it? This brings us to the sort of cost-benefit analysis of lying.
Well, the short-term benefits can feel very compelling.
Like what?
Instant relief. You avoid the fight, you dodge the embarrassment, you get the advantage you wanted right now. The reward is immediate and tangible.
But that immediate reward comes with a hefty long-term price tag, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The long-term costs almost always outweigh the short-term gains. The most fundamental cost is the erosion of trust.
Which is the bedrock of any relationship.
Exactly. And once broken, trust is incredibly hard, sometimes impossible, to fully repair. Then there's the internal cost, the chronic stress and guilt. That ACC alarm bell ringing constantly takes a toll on mental and even physical health over time.
And lies tend to multiply, right? One lie needs another to support it.
That's a huge hidden cost. Lies rarely stand alone. You end up building this complex web of deceit that you have to constantly remember and maintain. The cognitive load just keeps increasing. It becomes exhausting.
And your sources indicate that if this becomes a pattern, it can genuinely contribute to significant mental health issues.
Yes, when lying becomes compulsive or uncontrollable, it's often linked with anxiety disorders, personality disorders, and a cycle of stress that's very difficult to break. The cumulative burden is immense.
Now, things get even more complex when we turn the lie inward, when we lie to ourselves. How does self-deception fit into this?
It's a really tricky area. The intent is still deception, but the target is your own consciousness. We tell ourselves things that aren't true to avoid uncomfortable realities.
Like, I'm just not good enough for that promotion, even if the evidence suggests otherwise. Or maybe this relationship problem isn't really that bad.
Exactly. Or I can quit this habit anytime I want. These internal lies protect us from short-term anxiety or the need to make difficult changes, but they often sabotage our long-term well-being and prevent growth.
And the social context matters too, right? What's considered a lie can shift depending on the group or culture.
Hugely. Cultural norms vary wildly on what level of dishonesty is acceptable or even expected. Sometimes lies serve to maintain group identity. People might echo things they know aren't quite true to signal belonging.
Or in certain workplaces, maybe withholding bad news is implicitly encouraged.
Right. The environment can absolutely normalize certain kinds of deception, making it seem less like a personal failing and more like just how things are done.
Which brings us smack into the modern world and technology. Social media seems like a perfect platform for crafting deceptive images.
It's like a laboratory for perfecting the lie for gain and self-image protection, but often with lower immediate stakes than face-to-face lies. You can carefully edit, filter, and present a version of your life that's, let's say, highly curated.
Polished, sometimes misleading.
Often, yes. Showing only the highlights, the perfect moments, the successes, it sets up unrealistic expectations.
And the danger is?
The danger is twofold. First, it can erode trust generally, as people become aware that online presentations are often not genuine. Second, and perhaps more insidiously, is the impact on the person doing the presenting.
How so?
Maintaining that perfect digital facade takes effort and can create a huge gap between the online persona and the real self. This disconnect can fuel anxiety, low self-esteem, and a constant pressure to live up to an impossible standard. The curated self starts feeling like a burden.
Okay, so we understand the drivers, the brain mechanics, the costs, the nuances. Given all this, how can someone consciously try to reduce their own reliance on deception? What practical steps emerge from the research?
Well, the first step involves leveraging that prefrontal cortex consciously. It's about conscious intervention. Pausing before you speak, especially in a situation where you're tempted to lie.
Just take a breath.
Yes, and actively run the calculation. What happens if I lie? What's the immediate gain? What's the likely long-term cost? What happens if I tell the truth? What's the short-term discomfort versus the long-term benefit?
Make the calculus explicit.
And then practice makes perfect, even for honesty.
Absolutely. Practice honesty in lower stakes situations first.
Yeah.
Build a truth muscle. And related to that, if you do lie, confession can be incredibly powerful.
Admitting it.
Yes. As difficult as it might be, admitting a lie stops the cover-up cascade. It halts that escalating cognitive load and stress response from the ACC. It's often a huge relief, even if there are consequences.
And finally, looking outward, changing the environment. That's crucial. If your lying is driven by fear, pressure, or stress, you need to address those root causes. Try to foster or seek out environments built on psychological safety places where honesty, even difficult honesty, is valued over appearances. Make it safer to tell the truth.
So to wrap up, lying is deeply human, often driven by fear or self-protection. It's hard work for the brain, taxing memory, inhibition, and emotional regulation, especially hitting the prefrontal cortex and ACC.
Right, and while it might offer a quick fix, the long-term price, lost trust, chronic stress, the tangled web of more lies is almost always higher.
We've established just how much cognitive effort it takes to suppress the truth and maintain a lie face-to-face.
That intense internal workload.
So here's a final thought for you. In our digital age, technology lets us craft and sustain these polished, often misleading virtual identities with far less immediate effort. Those lies for social status, for image.
Yeah, the curated online selves.
If the face-to-face lie carries such a heavy cognitive and emotional burden, what's the real, cumulative, perhaps hidden long-term cost to our mental health of maintaining these easier, pervasive digital deceptions? What happens psychologically when the pressure to keep up that online image starts to feel more real, more demanding than our actual imperfect, truthful lives. Something to think about.
You probably realized by now that lying isn't just about telling big, dangerous stories. From tiny white lies to bigger deceptions, dishonesty is deeply wired into how our brain works and how we deal with others. So the next time you catch yourself lying, ask, am I protecting myself, someone else, or just trying to look better? I'm glad you joined me in this videocast. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if this video made you think differently about lying, drop a comment and share your thoughts.